Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas from nichepursuits.com. And before we dive into the interview, I wanted to just share some quick business or personal updates. First, recently, Amazon came out with a change to its commission structure. It's gone from paying a variable rate based on the amount of products that you sell or the amount of revenue that you generate to now a fixed commission rate based on certain categories that you're selling the product in. Some people are calling this change huge and a game changer. Other people are saying that it really won't impact their business very much. Only time will tell. I think the key to this is that, yes, Amazon is a huge and great source for affiliate revenue, but it's important to be thinking long-term about your business. So I would still and still will create Amazon associate sites, but I'll think long-term of what products can I create on my own to eventually replace that affiliate revenue so that I can get a bigger piece of the pie. So maybe that's just the word of advice for today is always be thinking of how you can generate more revenue from your existing traffic. One way to do that is to create your own products, especially if you are an Amazon affiliate. So there's that. As far as a quick personal update, I am still training for a marathon. I've still got a little bit of time before I run my target race at the end of April. However, things are going well. Training is going well. I'm feeling good. For all you runners out there, you know what it's like to be in the middle of a training program. So a lot of days I'm putting in quite a few miles, trying to eat healthy and do that sort of thing. I'm hoping that I'll be able to hit my goal of qualifying for Boston at the end of April. And yeah, it would be great to be able to sort of check that off the bucket list and be done with that. So I'll provide you an update once the race is closer and once I actually run the race, of course. So we'll see how it goes. Just wanted to provide an update to keep myself accountable and to let anybody know that is interested what's going on. So today, I have a guest interview. Her name is Dee Bryant, and she's the owner of thedogeffect.com. And we're going to dive into that website. It's a newer website, only about 8 or 9 months old. She started the site right around when we started Niche Site Project 3. In fact, that is how she started the site, is she followed along. She decided that the steps were clear enough for her to follow. And so she dove in, built her first site ever, which is thedogeffect.com. And she's doing really well. Traffic is increasing, and she's making a couple $100s a month. In fact, she thinks she'll make probably $300 by the end of this month. And so we dive into, of course, what's working, but then I have a few tips as well based on the questions that she has for how to take the site to the next level. So if you're interested in hearing from an entrepreneur that hasn't quite been extremely successful yet, this interview with Dee will be a great one. I think she's doing a great job, but she still is several months down the road from starting to see those bigger paydays. So with that, I hope you enjoy the interview. Hey, Dee, welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast.
Hey, Spencer. Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining me here all the way from Australia, right?
Yep, that's the one, out the wild west of Australia. It's a bit early out here, but it's all good.
Yeah, no, thanks for getting up early to do an interview. Hopefully the audience listening will appreciate that. So let's dive in. Give people a little bit of an idea who you are, your background, either what you do now professionally or what you did previously professionally before building websites.
So I'm still currently working out west. We have a lot of resources industry and mining. So I've been working in mining and the resources for probably the last 15 years. So currently still doing that, been working away from home. We have a FIFO type role here where we fly away for work for a couple of weeks and then come home for a couple of weeks. So yeah, it's, long days, but it's nice to have that time off when you get home. And yes, and then wanting to sort of start building websites to sort of get away from that that kind of work. Really, it's long days and.
Yeah. So, what type of work specifically are you doing then?
Yeah, so I have been doing all sorts of roles from operations out in the field to a corporate role in the office. That just about killed me, I think. Working, 7 to 7 in the office and, having to get up early every day to go to work. So that was more around a health and safety role, but I've also been in operations and projects and all sorts of stuff. So at the moment, I'm in operations. It's kind of a safety role, looking at permitting, allowing work to go ahead because we work on a gas field, so it's a very high-risk work and making sure that everyone's safe to get out there and go crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. So give us a little bit of an idea then where you're at now. I mean, why did you decide to jump into building a niche website? What kind of led you there?
Yeah, so about a year ago, I was on holidays from the corporate role and we were crazy busy. We're a massive project that we're working on. So it was really crazy and I went to Bali for a holiday and I was sitting next to some girl having a cocktail and said, I've just got to run off to my room and answer my emails. We're in the middle of this massive mobilization and she was shaking her head at me. So when I got back, she just looked at me and said, what are you doing? You're on holidays, I've got to introduce you to someone. So anyway, she did. She introduced me to this girl that was building websites. She'd had a site for a couple of years and was doing really well. So she kind of introduced me to the building website world. It's something that I had always in my mind, I wanted to work with flexibility. I wanted to be able to work on my own schedule, I guess. So it's something I've always had in my mind. And when I spoke to this girl, it all just fell into place, which was really cool. Then I just started looking into different podcasts and different, people with courses of how to do it. I didn't actually know exactly what it meant, like what it meant to build websites and niche sites and all that kind of thing. So there was a few sites I got onto, and one was, yours and Pat Flynn, Derek Gale, Screw the 9 to 5. So I kept going through all of those. And then it was when I was looking at yours and I saw the Niche Site Project 3.0 come up. And it was being very tactical. It could give me the 1, 2, 3 step by step of how to do it. A lot of them are a little bit in theory rather than exactly what to do. So that's what really made sense to me. And I started following that project.
Yep. That makes sense. That's kind of cool how you discovered Niche Pursuits. And obviously there's a lot of great podcasts and people are doing great things, but I'm glad you came and you're following along with Niche Site Project 3. So yeah, appreciate that. We are going to talk about specifically one of your websites that you have. Is the website we're going to talk about, is that the first website you built or have you done others previously?
No, that is the first website that I built along with the project. It's actually still primarily my only website. I'm playing around with a few other domains, but it is my first and my only at the moment.
Okay.
And yeah.
So why don't you tell people what the website is and why you decided to go with that niche?
Yeah, so my website is thedogeffect.com. About dogs. When I was going through the project and they were talking about interests and what you thought you could build a project on, what would interest you, what you could write a lot of articles about. I chose that niche because it was, I guess for that very reason. I had a dog. He was, my little mate. We do a lot of things together. Mm-hmm. And it just made sense. So I started with that. And I think there's a lot of diversity in it as well. There's a lot of different avenues to go. I probably haven't niched it down enough. I'm still quite high level, dogs. Sure. But it's working all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, how good is it working? Can you give us an idea of maybe traffic, earnings, anything you're willing to share there?
Yeah. So it took a few months before anything happened, as I think is quite normal.
Right.
And it has been, progressively going up and up since. I'm probably only still at, I think 3,500 visitors a month. Yeah, like I said, progressively going up. And income-wise, that probably didn't start until, say, November. And it was a couple of, might have been $50 Now that's progressively gone up to about $200 to $300 a month. So, not a fortune, but I think it's every month it's getting better and better. And this month already is my best month.
Mm-hmm.
And we've still got 10 days to go. So
That's
slowly
awesome.
getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. So traffic, you said, was about 3,500 per month. So roughly maybe 100 to 120 a day. Is that?
Yes, that's
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you're able to pull in, you said, about $250 or so last month. And this month's looking better, so that's good. That's a good sign. It's growing. When did it start? When did you first publish your art? What was the first article? When was that published?
So first article would have been
just roughly
probably about August. Yeah, July.
Okay.
August.
So it's 6 or 7 months old.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
6 or 7 months. So I started planning about a year ago with the project. I was, planning it out, and it's probably a little bit older than that, probably 8 months, because I was building it with you guys. And then once I published it, got it all going, it's been traffic and income, traffic about 6 to 8 months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you think the site will end up with this month? What do you expect?
Probably about 300, on track for about 300.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then,
no, that's good.
From there, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully so. So let's maybe dive into it and see if there's any tips that I can share. I've obviously looked at the site, but before I sort of just share what I see, do you have any questions? What are you struggling with right now on the site? What questions do you have for me?
Yeah, so probably more so struggling with once I get the article up. It's probably around planning. Actually, my planning of the articles and the outreach is not so great. So I sort of need a bit of a checklist of, okay, when you get your article up, you do this, this, and this. So contacting the resources that I've used, contacting sites that potentially might be able to use the article, putting it on social, a few things like that. Like I'm sort of putting an article up and going, yeah, it's up, and I'm not very good with outreach and things like that. I need to probably just plan better.
Okay.
And then also probably just what to do next. Do I grow, doing the same thing, or am I supposed to be diversifying a bit more? I have thought about getting, products or ebooks, and I'm halfway through doing both. And, do I just keep it niche and then, as in content marketing, and just keep writing articles, or do I diversify in multiple sites? I'm sort of at that stage where I'm like, well, I need something next, but I'm not sure what to do.
Right. And there's so many different options and ideas, right? It feels like you're not quite sure where to put your energy, probably. You got 10 different ideas, and which one or two do you pursue? Yep.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there. So that's that's good to share, because I'm sure a lot of people listening have felt the exact same way and do feel the same way when they're looking at a newer site. They're not quite sure what strategy to pursue. So let's dive into both of those questions. So the first one was essentially, should you be doing more with each of your articles that you publish? Right? Should you be doing more outreach, that sort of thing? Sounds like actually with your articles, you're doing a pretty good job. So you're following the strategy of, okay, so if you've linked to anybody within the article, go ahead and reach out to them, give them a heads up, let them know, hey, I mentioned you in this article, and that might lead to them sharing it on social media and that sort of thing. It sounds like you're kind of doing that. I
think I know it, but I'm not doing it well. So I think I'll just give myself a little check box to kind of do that more, I think.
Yeah, that's actually a really great thing, and especially to think about even when you're writing your articles, linking out to people is not a bad thing, So even if you link out, mention 5 to 10 or sometimes even more other people, that gives you 10 people that you can reach out to and say, hey, I just wrote a great article and mentioned you. Would you mind sharing it on social media? Or it might just start a conversation that could lead to you doing a guest post on their site or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good outreach tool. Just say, hey, I think you're awesome, basically, and I mentioned you, sort of thing. So do that, share it on social media like you're saying. The other thing I would say is that with not every single article is deserving of a large outreach campaign. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's some articles that you're going to write that are just sort of standard. They're targeting specific keywords that they're good content, but maybe they're not fantastic content. So the sort of like average content, probably you're not going to be doing a lot of outreach. I don't for my articles, right?
Yeah.
For sort of the average article, I'm not doing a lot of outreach. However, for those really fantastic articles, you should be doing a lot of outreach, and you should probably be planning specifically to write these really epic pillar posts, fantastic articles, whatever you want to call them, right? Maybe that's 1 out of every 10 or 1 out of every 15 articles that you do is an article that's really in depth, or it's this really pillar post that after it's done, you then go out and reach out to lots and lots of people, right?
Yeah, spend the effort on that.
Right. And so you almost write some of your articles, like I said, it's only a percentage of them. You write specifically for outreach. So maybe it's not even targeting a really low competition keyword. Maybe it's just you have a really great idea that seems really shareable, and you write a great post, or you do an infographic, or you create some sort of resource that is linkable, right? That is worth mentioning to other people. And that's how you do your outreach, right? Is you reach out to 100 people and point them all towards this one great article you wrote.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I haven't been doing that enough. I was writing articles there, and they're quite, they've got quite a lot of affiliate links in them and sales pages. And I'm realizing, well, no one wants to see that because that's selling my stuff on their page. So
right.
I did start writing a couple of articles where I have very few or if any affiliate links in it at all for that reason. So that's probably what I can expand on those.
Yeah.
And send them out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to figure out a schedule that's right for you. I mean, maybe it's once a month that you're able to do a more pillar type post. Or maybe it's only once every other month, and you spend 2 months doing outreach. It kind of depends on the work that you're able to put into it. But that is an important thing because not every article that you write is going to be something that people are going to want to link to. But if you can kind of think outside the box or do something unique, or, with pets, there's probably a lot of really interesting sort of infographic ideas that you can come up with that would be that other people would be willing to link to. So that's something you probably need to fit into your schedule.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And I'm not sure if this ties into your second question, but since I was mentioning sort of schedule, that's something that can keep you focused, is determine what your schedule is. You're kind of at the point now where you've got a core set of articles. I think you said maybe 50 articles or something, right?
Yeah, 50 or 60 now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you've got a great core set of articles. Now you need to just figure out, okay, what's going to be your ongoing schedule? Is that 2 articles a week that you can do? Is that 1 article a week? Figure out whatever you feel like is a workload you can produce. And set that schedule, set that expectation for yourself. So let's say it's, okay, I'm going to do 2 keyword focused articles a week, and I'm going to do 1 really linkable, shareable article every month.
Yeah.
Or whatever that schedule, is for you, and try to stick to that. I think by coming up with a schedule and planning that content, you'll be able to stick to your plan a little bit better.
So would you just recommend just continue writing so you've got, 200, 500, 1,000 articles, or would you cap it at something and say, look, that's enough for this? Or
boy, that's the golden question. I would keep producing content as long as the site continues to grow and make money. So that could be for years, right? I mean, maybe you're able to just expand this and turn it into a huge site. But on the other hand, if the site sort of plateaus out, you may decide that, well, I'll just leave it at that and move on to another project.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I'm thinking about, with my massive $300 a month, but thinking in the future, I also thinking about like diversifying that Amazon income, because it is just from one place on one site. So if something goes wrong, then that's all gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think, do I still build a couple of sites, or do I diversify in having making it more of an authority site? So I've got some sales on there, I've got ebooks, products or something. Do you look at that diversification?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's important to think about. I think once your site hits a certain level, and maybe it's not even a certain level, but once you get to the point where you feel like you can kind of take on a new project, because it is. And I don't mean a new site, but for the dogeffect.com, you might finally decide, okay, I got this content piece figured out. I feel like I have a little bit of time and energy to now develop my own physical product or write my own ebook or whatever that may be. So for this particular site, there are a lot of physical products for dogs that you could come up with or contact manufacturers on Alibaba, right, and sell directly through your own site. There's immense opportunity in this niche. So absolutely, I would keep that sort of in the forefront of your mind, thinking, what's a unique product that I can come up with and sell on my site, because that will increase your earnings probably significantly if you can come up with a great product and sell it right on your own site.
Yeah, the thing that I found interesting with that, looking at what is selling, I have a couple of products pretty much make half my sales. And I'm thinking that's a really interesting way to think, maybe that's a product that you could make as a physical product. So that's probably a way to find those as well.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's very smart of you to look at that. That's it. That's exactly what I do on some of my sites. Look at, it just makes sense because you're referring sales to Amazon and you've got one or two products that are making up the bulk of that. Well, if you are just sending them to your own listing, of that product, you go from making, an 8% commission on Amazon or whatever it is to, making probably, 75% when it's all said and done, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a great place to start. So if a couple of those top products that you're selling as an affiliate is something that you could go out and produce your own sort of generic version of on Alibaba, that's definitely worth looking at.
I might keep that one in mind, I think.
Yeah. Yep. And you can, to make it easy, you can still sell it on Amazon, right? So people don't even necessarily know that it's your own product per se, that, that they're going from the Dog Effect to Amazon and they're still buying the Dog Effect product. They may or may not know that. They just know they're buying through Amazon that they know and trust, and it's a product they like. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Oh, good. Good.
I don't know if I fully answered your second question. You had two sort of questions. One was, sort of producing content. And then, I guess just you were saying, is there more that you should be doing? You've got lots of ideas. I guess we kind of tackled that, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was answered.
Okay. Good. So any other questions that you might have to sort of take the site to the next level?
Not so much a question, but a comment more so. When I first started following the project and we were really focusing on keyword research, most of the articles that are doing very well came from that period of very good keyword research. And I found I kind of went away from that a little bit. One, because I had a few problems with the program, but that's all fixed now. And I was trying to sort of diversify my content, sort of not have so much on, one product, but try to do a little bit of, diversify the articles, I guess. So I wasn't focusing enough on keyword research. So I found that, the articles that I did are ranking really well. So I'm going to go back to that and focus more on keyword research. And the other part of that is I think a lot of my low competition keywords were quite low volume. So that's why I'm still getting traffic, I'm still getting sales, but it's not like the next level of traffic and sales. So I'm going to go back and do some research on still keep it low, but probably not as low, still in the 30s, but I was sort of focusing in the 20s,
Gotcha.
so about 30, but with a higher volume. So I'm getting more people through, probably a little bit harder to rank, but more volume through. So I think that's in my mind, that may be another way to boost that traffic a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think so. And for people listening, obviously you're talking about Longtail Pro, the keyword competitiveness score of, we talk about 30 or less or above 30. That's that KC score there. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. It really, the majority of your articles should be keyword focused, and certainly keeping them low competition is key. The ideal situation is to find a really low competition keyword that is also high traffic. But sometimes it's hard to find that, right? Sometimes it's easy to find the low competition and low traffic, but not the other way around. So I think it's easy to veer off from that and think, I need an article on this or I need an article on that. But really, at the end of the day, unless you're doing that research, you're not going to get what you need. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great reminder, and I agree. Another good tip or reminder that I did share in the product, as a way to find additional keywords rather than just sort of staring at Longtail Pro and thinking, well, what seed keyword should I type in now, is using a tool like SEMrush, looking at your competitors and what they're already ranking for in Google. Right. And you've probably already got a list of lots of your competitors, but that's something that you can dive back into, maybe find some additional competitors, see what they're ranking for, and trying to cherry pick some of their best keywords that, maybe are getting some good volume, and adding your own articles, making the articles better than, what they produced on their website, maybe make them a little bit longer, a little more in depth. That might help Google rank you a little bit better than they are.
Yeah, actually, I haven't probably done that enough. So, I'll put that back on my list. That's good.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. And now that you do have 50 articles or 60 articles or whatever, you've really got a lot of internal linking opportunities. So if you have not been doing a good job, and I didn't go through the site to really make a determination, but if you haven't been doing a good job of linking to your previous articles, within your own site, it might be worth going back and trying to do some of that interlinking to try and give your pages more link juice, for lack of a better term. So, if let's say tomorrow you go out and you find a keyword that's still low competition, but maybe a little bit more competitive, and you feel like needs some links, you can go back to, a half a dozen or a dozen articles that are on your own website and update them to include a link to your brand new article. And that's going to provide a nice little bump or notification to Google that, hey, this article might be important. So internal links do help. And so now that you've got, 50 or 60 pages, you can start doing a little bit more interlinking with your new articles. So that's something to be thinking about.
Yeah, I do that, but not enough probably. I don't go back enough. So that's another reminder. Put that on my checklist as well.
Yeah. Yep. Unfortunately, there can be a lot of things on the checklist, right? But that can help. Like I said, in particular, if you're targeting something that's maybe a little bit more competitive, you might want to dive deep into your articles and see what makes sense to link to that new article, or something like that. So, I just had some notes here. We've kind of talked about content. I think you're doing the right things, targeting keyword focused articles, but then thinking about, every month or so doing a really in-depth sort of linkable asset that can produce a lot of links for you. That can be important. And there can be cool ideas. I mean, if you want to start thinking outside the box, you can certainly do something that is almost purely created to generate links. For example, the other day I saw an article that, anything that ties sort of one popular topic with a separate popular topic can be interesting. And what I mean by that is, there was an article written about Super Mario Brothers, the old video game, and they tried to estimate how many miles he ran, Mario runs in the game if you complete the whole game, right? So it's just a really sort of dumb little thing.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden what it did is it tied video games to runners. And with that one article, this website was able to reach out to everybody in the video game space and everybody in the runner space. And tons of people linked to it because it's just sort of a funny little infographic that takes an angle you never thought about before. And,
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Right? So if you can do that with dogs somehow, and I don't know what that is, you have to think about that. But if you can tie a market that's outside of dogs, so you can reach to these people that are in the video game space or whatever to link to your dog site, it's a great way to get fresh links.
Actually, it's interesting. I did one early on because I take my dog paddleboarding, stand-up paddleboarding.
Okay.
And so I found it a little bit hard at the time to reach out to other dog sites because I was thinking like, oh, is this competition? So I linked out to external sites like that. I linked out to some paddleboarding sites and I wrote a guest post on paddleboarding with your dog. And that worked really, really well. So that might be something for me to do again. Because there's loads of things. Actually, I wrote another one recently about mountain biking with your dog, and maybe now I can outreach to mountain biking fraternity. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I think that works really well, and it seemed for some reason it seemed easier for me to talk and outreach to a different niche than my own. I don't know why, but that's just what my mindset at the time.
No, a lot of times it can be because if you're reaching out to other, sort of dog sites, a lot of times it can feel like they're your competitor, right? And so maybe you feel like, well, why would they even respond to me? But if you're reaching out to mountain bikers or somebody else that has nothing to do with pets, they'd be like, sure, that's cool. I can link to this guy. He's not competition at all.
Yeah.
So that's something that's a good reminder. Even for me, I mean, to be honest, I don't always do this as well as I should. It's one of those things I know that I should. But if you are thinking about linkable assets, that's a great avenue to go is think about what other markets could I sort of target to get those fresh links.
Yeah, I think that's probably the stage I'm at. I'm at that stage where I need to tie it all together. Like I'm doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and we just need to tie it all together and move forward, onward and upward.
Yes, absolutely, and try not to let it be overwhelming. Obviously set a schedule. Like I said, maybe once a month. Try to think of a sort of unique angle like that, and once you've written the article, you spend the entire month doing that outreach, and you don't have to worry about your next one until next month.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Just do it and then concentrate on the outreach. I think that's what I need to do.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And I think that will help hopefully move the site to the next level. I mean, that really is what it comes down to is once you've targeted the keywords, the only thing left outside of the on-page optimization is the link building, right? And the outreach. So that can really help. The last sort of note that I had on here was monetization, which we actually did talk about a little bit. Now, I haven't looked at all of your articles, but I can see that, you're doing essentially product reviews and you're linking to those products via Amazon affiliate. Are you doing any product comparison charts?
No, I'm not actually. No.
Okay. Yeah. The couple of articles I had looked at, it didn't look like you were.
No.
I've seen that those can improve your conversion rates. So that might be something you want to consider, maybe on future articles is try putting in some, comparison charts that just makes it very easy for people to see the top 5 or 10 products in whatever category you're reviewing in that article. That can really help. That's something that I do, of course, on all of my sites, and I've seen it work very well.
I'll look at that. That's good.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any additional questions for me? I mean, that I mean, honestly, when I look at the site, you're doing a lot of things really, really well. I mean, you've got the site laid out, I think, in a user friendly way. You've even got, you're building an email subscriber list. You've got the sidebar sort of opt-in form. You've got the pop-up that comes up. You're doing a lot of things that are right. And for a site that is only 8, maybe 9 months old, you're doing well, and you're on a great trajectory. So
good. Thanks.
I would just continue to encourage you to do what you're doing, implement some of the things that we've talked about, and I think the future will be good for the site. So any additional questions or thoughts before we sort of wrap up?
No, that's actually been great. Probably the two main ones that have been on my mind lately is that planning and direction a little bit, what to do with the site. So we covered that. And really just taking those points that you mentioned and putting them into a bit of I keep calling it a checklist, but putting into a bit of a checklist so that consistency of outreach and that consistency of publishing and that consistency of what to do with those articles when they're published. That's probably been my latest hurdle, I think. So no, I think you covered that pretty well.
Okay.
But for anyone that is doing this, I think for me, it was a great way to start is following that project, doing it step by step. And probably the biggest thing, I can see why a lot of people try this and don't continue, because it's not easy. It's not quick. It's not 5 minutes. You really need to continue and just do it. Even you don't see a lot happening, and in the beginning you don't see a lot of growth, you don't see any income, but it does happen, like 6 months in or 4 months in, suddenly you start seeing people coming. So for anyone that wants to give it a try, I really think you just need to stick with it.
Yeah.
Because it does work.
Absolutely. And great tips, sort of motivation there. I agree that especially when you're just starting out, it takes several months before you see any traffic and earnings of note. And so it is important to stick with it, have some patience, and then hopefully the money will start to roll in after that. And like I said, you've sort of hit the inflection point of the curve now where you're starting to make more and more money every month. $300, like you said, it's not like you can retire, but it is something tangible, right? $300 is $300. And I think it's going to keep growing. So I think you've done great, Dee. I think the future is good. And I'd love it if every once in a while I can just check back in with you to see how the site's doing, and you can keep us up to date in future months. Does that sound good?
Yeah, for sure. I'd like that. That'd be really good and keep me on track as well. So, but thank you. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with the site, and I will continue to just build that and hopefully get some more income. My plan is one day to not be working while I do this. So there's motivation there to continue.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'd love it if you got there. So,
yeah, me too.
It is great to be able to sort of work on your own schedule and not have a boss. So I hope that you can get there. I hope that a lot of people listening can get there too. That really is the whole point of doing the podcast, doing the blog posts. It's not just to hear myself talk. I really do hope that people can take the advice, implement it. It is real earnings. It takes time, like you said, but it really is a small business that you're running that you can run from anywhere. And a lot of people have been able to work full time at it. So, but having said all of that, Dee, once again, thank you for being on the podcast, and thank you everybody for listening.